Think about that little glass rectangle sitting right there in your pocket. Or maybe you're even holding it right now. We carry these devices everywhere. We treat them like innocent lifelines to the outside world, right? Just a way to check in on a friend or pass the time. But imagine, just for a second, being able to make someone deeply, almost obsessively attached to you without ever touching them, without seeing them, without even speaking to them every day. All that exists between you is that screen, a few glowing pixels in a dark room. Well, the source material we are examining in today's explainer reveals a much, much darker reality about how we communicate. Because for people who actually understand the hidden underlying rules of human behavior, chatting is not innocent at all. It is a highly calculated weapon. It's literally a tool used to hack the human subconscious and build deep virtual obsession. So today, we are going to dive deep into the dark psychology of digital seduction. And we're going to break down exactly how a few carefully calculated words can silently infiltrate someone's mind. But before we get into the actual mechanics of how this works, I want you to ask yourself a very serious question about your own digital life. Think about that sudden ping of a notification. You know, the one, that brief little rush of dopamine, the anticipation as you unlock your screen to open a message. In your daily conversations, who is actually building the dynamic and who is being built upon? Are you controlling the conversation, or is the conversation controlling you? Do you create the moment, or are you just sort of waiting around, forced to react to it, letting someone else dictate the pace? You see, our source points out a fundamental truth. Attention is the gateway to the mind. Once someone captures your attention, whether it's with the exact right timing, a very deliberate silence, or a profound unexplained sentence, they have already planted a seed in your subconscious. So, how exactly do they do it? Let's dive right into it. Today, we are explicitly deconstructing a covert 6-step dark psychology playbook. We'll be looking at step 1, the confusing start, then move to the incomplete book, calculated mood swings, tactical withdrawal, emotional addiction, and finally, calm emotional control. All right, let's start with step number 1, the confusing start. This is all about hacking the brain's deep-seated need for clarity. Now, you might be wondering, what's the biggest mistake people make when they first start chatting with someone new? It's simple. They're way too clear and way too predictable. According to the psychology outlined in our source, the very moment the human brain understands you completely, its internal filtering system immediately categorizes you as safe. And unfortunately, when it comes to the realm of deep magnetic attraction, safe almost always translates to boring. Your brain literally loses interest and starts scanning the environment for something else, something harder to figure out, something deeper. Consider a totally standard message like, "Hi, how are you?" I mean, it's totally predictable, completely forgettable, and it leaves absolutely zero psychological footprint. You'll forget you even read it 5 minutes later. But imagine checking your phone out of nowhere and seeing this. "I tried to stop thinking, but I choose the wrong people to forget." Notice what that does to you? It forces the target's brain into absolute overdrive. It's a calculated puzzle. Who are they trying to forget? Are they hurt? Is this some kind of game? Wait, do they mean me? And that brings us to a crucial point. The human brain absolutely craves puzzles. Think about it like a catchy song that gets stuck in your head on a loop, or a massive cliffhanger at the end of your favorite TV show. Your brain simply cannot let it go until that tension is resolved. So by leaving an incomplete thought, what psychologists call an open loop, you act as a psychological seed. You aren't just communicating anymore. You are deliberately planting a lingering question in their mind and then just walking away, letting it grow without you having to do a single ounce of extra work. Because the more their brain works to solve the puzzle of your cryptic message, the more their attachment to you grows. Clarity brings comfort for a fleeting, boring moment, sure, but mystery pulls the mind in and traps it for weeks. Which leads us perfectly into the second step, the incomplete book concept. This is where we start really building the mystery. The core strategy here is to present yourself as a closed book that is missing exactly one crucial page. If someone asks you a completely simple question like, "So who are you? What's your story?" and you just answer it fully, you lose the game right then and there. The target shouldn't actually know you. They should only believe they are discovering you. And this brilliantly illustrates a concept rooted in developmental psychology known as object permanence. Normally, we think of this with babies playing peekaboo, but it applies to adults in a deeply emotional way too. When a person disappears, like when they go offline or leave you on red, the brain naturally retains their image. It holds on to them. But if that image is incomplete or if it's contradictory, the human brain cannot handle the vacuum. It simply cannot rest. It will obsessively try to fill in the missing pieces. And here's the secret.
The target's imagination will always invent a far more interesting, romanticized narrative than reality could ever provide. By offering only partial information about your life, your past, or your personality, you are forcing their brain to constantly reevaluate you in the dark. You literally become an addiction of curiosity, and that is wildly powerful because they don't even realize they're hooked.
Let me give you a practical example of this from the source. You might hint at a personal vulnerability in the chat, maybe a really vague reference to some childhood trauma or a terrible past heartbreak. But you stop right before giving any actual details. So when they naturally lean in, completely hooked, and ask what happened, you reply with, "Not now. But when it's time, you'll be the first to know." Wow. I mean, this is highly calculated. It makes the target feel like they are the exclusive key to your story. It's artificial intimacy at its most dangerous. They feel deeply privileged, like they've been chosen out of everyone else in your life. Yet if you look closely, you have risked absolutely nothing, and you've revealed absolutely nothing of substance.
Moving right along, we hit step 3, calculated mood swings, or the undeniable power of chaos.
Now, the source material explicitly warns about something most of us do naturally, being consistently warm and predictable. It turns out that actually kills attraction. It puts the relationship directly into that safety zone we talked about earlier. The brain doesn't attach to what is guaranteed, it attaches to what it can't quite grasp. So let's walk through this timeline of what psychologists refer to as intermittent reinforcement. This is literally the same mechanism that makes casino slot machines so wildly addictive. On day 1, you are incredibly warm. You're engaged, you're funny, you reply instantly. This builds a baseline of intense comfort. Then, day 2 arrives. Out of nowhere, you suddenly become cold. Your responses are delayed by hours, and when you do reply, it's just 1 or 2 brief words. Picture the target staring at their screen. They see a typing bubble appear and then vanish. This triggers visceral anxiety. It kicks off an avalanche of overthinking. Did they do something wrong? Are you bored with them? By day 3, you execute a sudden, complete withdrawal. Total radio silence. This completely breaks the pattern and creates genuine emotional panic. The target is now trapped in a high-stakes game of emotional gambling. They are frantically pulling the lever of a psychological slot machine over and over, desperate for a hit of that dopamine, just trying to win back that initial warmth you gave them on day 1.
To execute this properly, you have to realize that you are not one consistent person in the chat. You're a wave. You alternate between sharing deep, intimate secrets at midnight and then suddenly claiming the very next afternoon, "Yeah, I don't really like talking about these things with anyone." This deeply calculated inconsistency is devastating to the target's mental stability. It entirely shatters it. It locks them into a relentless loop of overthinking every single interaction. Eventually, they effectively stop being themselves. Instead, they become a reactionary vessel. They lose their own sense of identity as they desperately try to adapt to your constantly shifting tides.
Now we reach step 4, the tactical withdrawal. This is all about creating the void. You have to understand that in this context, withdrawal is not about running away. It's not about actually needing space for your mental health. It is a deliberate, highly calculated strategy designed to create a psychological void. It's about absenting yourself at the exact moment they want you there the most, forcing the target to viscerally, physically feel your absence. Let's look at the specific, highly manipulative text from the source. "I need time for myself right now, but having your presence in the background comforts me." I mean, this is a masterpiece of dark psychology. Think about what it actually does. It executes a graceful withdrawal, establishing an impenetrable distance where they can't reach you, while simultaneously chaining the target to a very specific submissive role. They are now the comforting background presence. They wait dutifully on standby, they feel important, they feel needed, while you hold absolute power over when, or even if, you return to the conversation.
Let's turn the mirror around for a second. Have you ever experienced this kind of psychological starvation yourself? Really think about the physical sensation of it. Have you ever frantically searched your phone, jumping at phantom vibrations in your pocket? Constantly checking read receipts at 2 in the morning, just waiting for a message from someone, simply because you were deprived of the feeling of comfort they used to provide? Here's the crazy part. You aren't actually missing the person in those moments. You are missing the psychological relief that the person's message brings to your nervous system. And that agonizing wheat, that is the precise goal of a tactical withdrawal.
And that transitions us perfectly into step 5, creating emotional addiction, administering the daily dose. The explainer source highlights a deeply harsh truth about human nature, and it's kind of tough to hear. People rarely actually fall in love with a person.
Instead, they become heavily chemically addicted to the specific emotions that person triggers within them. To create this addiction, the manipulator deliberately administers what we can call daily emotional doses. Things like consistent morning texts that completely hijack the target's daily routine, so the very first thing they do when they wake up is think of you. Or calming voice notes right before they go to sleep, effectively making your literal voice a required biological ritual for them to get any rest. Or offering unconditional validation during their stressful moments at work. You see, these aren't just nice, romantic gestures. They are carefully administered dependencies. By doing this day after day, the target is literally outsourcing their emotional regulatory system to your messages. So when you suddenly remove these doses, the target experiences literal, actual psychological withdrawal. They can't sleep, they can't focus on their work, their entire nervous system is just screaming for you to come back and regulate them again. And then there's the illusion of mind reading. This one is huge. Sending a message like, "I feel like you're upset right now, but you just can't say it," at the exact right moment creates a profound effect. It's almost frightening how well this works. It creates this incredibly powerful, intoxicating illusion that you can pierce straight into their soul. It cements a deep, almost psychic bond of safety, making them firmly believe that you are the absolute only person in the entire world who truly sees them through all the crowded noise of life.
Finally, we arrive at the culmination of the playbook, Step 6. Calm emotional control, the ultimate power play. In any digital relationship, there will inevitably be moments when the target tries to play games of their own. They might withdraw to test your attachment, or maybe they just start acting toxic. How you handle these specific moments dictates who holds the ultimate power forever. If they disappear for 2 days and you frantically respond with a double text saying, "Where were you? Why didn't you reply?" you instantly lose. You appear weak, reactive, and easily emotionally destabilized. They have successfully triggered you. But if you wait, act like you didn't even notice their prolonged absence, and simply drop a casual, "Okay, where do we leave off?" you project immense psychological superiority. It is deeply, deeply unsettling to the person attempting to play the game. It proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that you are entirely unbothered by their absence. Or consider how to handle a multi-day ghosting attempt that was specifically designed to make you panic. When they finally reach back out, tentatively trying to gauge your reaction, trying to see if you were worried sick about them, you deliver this with an icy, commanding tone. "I was sure you'd return when you were ready to talk." Wow. This response completely strips the target of their perceived power. It communicates, clearly and without arguing, that your world did not stop spinning just because they stepped out of it for a few days. It shows you don't attach easily, you absolutely don't panic under pressure, and you operate on a much higher level of emotional control than they ever anticipated. The foundational, absolute golden rule of this dark playbook is this: silence and stillness are the ultimate displays of psychological dominance. Think of a master negotiator sitting in a high-stakes corporate boardroom. They make an offer, and then they just sit in total silence. They let that unbearable quiet fill the room, forcing the other side to crack under the pressure and start talking. It's the exact same principle here. The person who reacts the least, who uses fewer words, and who maintains the quietest composure always dictates the dynamic of the relationship. When you remain perfectly calm in a moment where you are biologically expected to be angry or anxious, the other person realizes with absolute terrifying clarity that they cannot break you. So there you have it. We've unpacked the exact architecture of digital manipulation as laid out by our source material. From that first confusing start all the way to maintaining calm emotional control, this is a highly calculated, deeply invisible game of psychological chess, and it is happening every single day on the glowing screens right in front of our faces. So I want to leave you with this final thought to carry with you. In your next digital conversation, are you the one typing the messages, or are you the one being programmed by them?